I absolutely did not ask that question
I mean,
of
there
a
is
fucking
no
stranger.
12-year-old who would ask, like, an adult stranger about it. You would die of embarrassment.
We're here! We're live! Yeah. We're live now.
Live. We're live now.
Welcome. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. You get 97 points. Welcome indeed. Okay, well, we should start the show like we do normally. You ready?
Yes.
Alright. Welcome to the Skiffy and Fanny Show's Torture Cinema Holiday Special.
Live,
yes, on the Twitches. That's you, Paul. You have a tagline.
Oh, okay. It's tagline now. Okay, tagline. What is the psychogeological cartography of the North Pole region anyway?
Well, I don't know, Paul. What is it? What's the answer to that question?
Latitude. How the fuck does it work?
Well, thanks so much. We've got 7 viewers, by the way. 7 viewers. Which means, I think at that point that you just get to be like, you get all the advertising dollars. So, yeah.
Maybe, possibly, you never know.
Yeah. Call us, Apple. Anyway, I'm Sean.
Oh, I'm Alex.
Are you sure you're Alex?
No,
No, you're not.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about anything after seeing this fucking movie.
I, unfortunately, am Paul.
Or fortunately, depending on your perspective.
I'm doing the Borges bit, I, unfortunately, am Borges. I, unfortunately, am Paul.
Okay, that's an interesting way to do it. But anyway, on today's show, we're doing a thing. We will share what we're drinking and discuss 1979's Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July from Bass Rankin Productions. It stars, among many other people, Red Buttons, Ethel Merman, Mickey Rooney, Shelley Winters, Paul Frees, and many more of varying degrees of popularity. Our Patreon supporters
And competence.
picked this. Thanks so much, guys. Of all the options you could have picked, you picked this one. We love you very much. No, we don't.
They are responsible for us being here. You can go to patreon.com/shiftingfantasy and join them so you can vote on the sorts of things that we watch for Torture Cinema. God help us all. Please do so. We need the money. We're gonna need therapy after discussing this film.
Therapy is not cheap.
No,
it is not. So, yes, we need more Patreon supporters so we can purge ourselves of our feelings about this movie.
At least one Patreon supporter is in chat and has said you're welcome.
They get an additional 97 points.
All right, but
great.
before we get to that, a friendly reminder that we want to hear from you. Share your comments with us about this and past episodes at skiffyandfanty.com/listener suggestions, unless you want us to watch this movie again, in which case you can fuck off. We want to put together a listener mailbag episode with your thoughts, questions, topic suggestions, and more, so get those thoughts in.
All right, well, now on to what we're drinking, because that's what we got to do. While I fix the fact that we're apparently all froze in awkward positions on the screen. So,
Awesome.
Alex, if you would be so kind, please let us know what the hell are you drinking?
So, I am unfortunately now an old person, and I have reached the old person stage of I cannot drink alcohol because it will interfere with my medication. So I'm not drinking alcohol. Instead, I'm having a nice hot cup of black decaf tea with milk in it. And that's where I'm at. How about you, Paul?
I'm drinking melted ice. That is what we say, water, because I am an old, and we're doing this on a Monday night, so even if I wanted to get drunk, this would not be a good night to do it. And I do need some sort of mental cleansing after watching this movie. I watched it again just before this podcast, just to make sure I understood what was going on.
Did it help?
No, it did not.
Yes.
Oh.
It did.
Shocking.
No, that's not.
I'm
where I
not, I'm
would've
not
put
saying
that.
it's good, but it helped.
To the
I'm
film's
like,
detriment, it helped.
Yes. Sean, what are you drinking?
Well, I guess I'm the only one who will be
You're
drinking.
muted,
You're,
Sean.
you're muted, John.
Oh. Hi. Thank you. Yeah, I'm also apparently an old because I've immediately pulled the "you're muted," which just we can just end the stream now. Like, there's no point in going on. We're too fucking old to be doing
On
this.
behalf of your aging podcast cast, I apologize for just visibly, like, turning into the crypt keeper in front of your eyes.
Oh, I'm going to turn into a tree. Wait, no.
Oh, well, then we'll get to that because apparently that's what happens when your magic ice staff breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I will actually be drinking an alcohol beverage, but I will just note for any young children who may be watching this, which you've made a decision in your life, but as always, drink responsibly. If you're a child, you cannot drink alcohol, so you can have water or a soda. But in mine, I have made a peppermint schnapps and coconut rum with, like, hot chocolate in it.
That is very of the season.
sounds
Well, and it fits
festive.
the movie, because the movie is both Christmas and, I guess, at the beach?
Well, we're going to get into
Is
that.
it at the beach?
We're going to get
Or
into that.
Is it in the... Where is it? Really?
Well, my tagline was chosen quite deliberately, but perhaps Sean, you're going to give us a summary of this film.
I will. So, Christmas in July is single-handedly responsible for destroying the contingency of the holiday season, which used to be, up until 1979, entirely kept within the confines of December. And thanks to this movie, that border has now been eroded for the past roughly 40 plus years, so that now, literally the second Halloween ends, Christmas begins. Even though there's a whole other fucking holiday in between there. And so you can thank Bass Rankin Productions for this, and also the fact that this film has done it, even though technically speaking this tradition of Christmas in July precedes this film, but I refuse to acknowledge actual history, so fuck off. This movie is a retcon of the original film, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, made by the same exact group of people. That film is actually a good movie. This movie, not so much. This movie decides that the entire base plot of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer needs an entire subplot added on in which a man named Winterbolt, who is a powerful evil snow wizard, who is evil for reasons that don't quite make sense and has a magic staff and talks to a wall but only the bottom part of its mouth moves because it's got very severe jaw problems and needs dental surgery desperately. This guy was powerful and evil and a snow wizard for reasons. And then apparently the Aurora Borealis, who's actually a lady who just like floats in space and brings lights and stuff, decided, oh, I must stop him. So she froze him for a while.
But
And then
nothing
he
lasts
woke up.
forever.
Nothing
But
lasts
nothing
forever.
lasts forever.
As she points out.
I was tempted
Yeah.
as that as my alternate tagline for this.
Nothing lasts
anyway,
forever, except this movie, subjectively.
Oh god, this movie lasts fucking forever. Jesus.
It is longer than most of these other productions. I mean, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is 25 minutes. This is like
No, it's not. The
3.5
original
times
Rudolph
the
the
length.
Red-Nosed Reindeer is not 25 minutes.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
isn't it?
fucking not. No way. You cannot. Yukon Cornelius does not get like a handful of minutes in that
Oh no,
movie.
55 minutes.
Thank
My
you,
apologies.
thank you.
This Frosty, it's 25. The original Frosty's 25.
Yeah, this one's an hour and a
Rudolph
half.
is 55. This is an hour and a half.
And you
it feels
feel every fucking second. Any case, so he gets frozen by Lady Boreal, the queen of the Northern Lights, and nothing lasting forever. He eventually wakes up, so she makes this plot of like she's gonna go to where I guess Rudolph is born and is like, I'm gonna put a magic tattoo on your hoof, even though you're not old enough yet to get tattoos, but I'm gonna do it anyway without your parents' consent. And so she does, and that tattoo is important later for reasons that actually don't really make much sense. But that sets up the whole thing about like when he finally wakes up and he like starts storms and stuff. Well, Rudolph is there and he gets mad and says, I'm gonna like take Rudolph's light so that he can't help Santa invade people's homes and leave presents, even though that's kind of creepy and weird. And so he sets on a series of plots, all of which eventually fail. There's a circus involved because it's Christmas in July. Apparently, Frosty and his entire family get melted in the first ever snowman genocide we've ever witnessed.
But they got better.
But they got better.
They got better.
Yeah, small
Thank
thing.
Thank you, Jack Frost.
There's lots of fun little characters that are on the side, but it's really like a long sequence of incidental, coincidental plots that eventually become a real plot later when, yeah, he's like tricked into doing like stealing money.
Does it become a real plot?
It really isn't. No, it's not really. Like, yeah, there's just all
I've
kinds
watched
of
this thing
weirdness.
twice. There is a plot. There's a plan.
And
There's-
plot.
I mean,
I'm not saying it's a good plot or plan, but there is one.
it's a plot that like things. The only plot is evil snow wizard wants to be loved more than Santa, and therefore must sabotage everybody. That's like the plot.
Well, yes, mostly. So, evil snow wizard, having been deposed by the Aurora Borealis, wants to return to power. However, now while he's sleeping, Santa basically took over kingship of the North. To usurp Santa's authority and power, he needs to have the children love him instead of Santa. So this whole movie is basically him trying to sabotage Santa and his bond with children so that Winterbolt can regain his rightful throne.
Yeah,
It's
Pretty much.
basically like shitty Christmas Silmarillion.
Yes.
Oh my God.
When I was watching this last Friday as part of the streaming live with patrons, that's something you can do if you're a patron of the show. You can watch these things with us live and have us comment you in the Discord. So again, patreon.com/skippingandfantasy. Yes, we all kind of agreed. Yes, this is the Silmarillion of Rudolph movies, which is just kind of really bizarre, but actually, yeah, we all agreed that's what it was.
Well, great. Well, we've got the summary, which means we need to get to the whole function of this nonsense, which is what did we like about this movie? Which I'm going to say that, Alex, you must go first, and you must give me the greatest like you could ever come up with in your entire torture cinema career for which you are not paid a single dime.
Why are you putting so much pressure on Alex?
Because it's the holiday season, okay? We have to, go extra.
I mean, is it truly the holiday season if you're not experiencing undue stress because of your nearest and dearest?
Well?
Due to artificial metrics like the size of Christmas presents.
Is that a thing? I'm married to somebody who doesn't actually celebrate Christmas because it's not part of their culture.
You live a blessed existence. God, what do I actually like about this movie? I like that it's
Don't
stop
take
motion.
my like you. That's a weak like, but okay,
Wow.
please elucidate.
I'm sorry, are we getting into judging likes now? I'm looking forward to when Sean mentions the union of the Christmas elves or some shit.
There's hardly any elves in this. That's the reason why they didn't agree with the union, so there are no elves.
The Kringle elves are not really
what
well
really
represented in this
confuses me is they talk about the Kringle elves, but then they also talk about other elves, so I don't know if they're two subspecies of elves or
So there's an
It
answer
is
to
the
this.
Silmarillion after
It's
all.
true.
And you have the Morquendi and the Valar and the
So wait, is Santa Claus one of the Valar?
Yes,
Um,
he is. Yeah, 100%.
Well, no, he's not because we see him as a young man. We see him age. I mean, in the flashback, we see him get married. Even
I mean,
I did
And?
not expect see Santa Claus getting married, and the whole fact that he basically migrates north with Mrs. Claus.
I mean, that entire thing where he you see young Santa and his extremely creepy eyes. This movie brings up a lot of questions that I'm not sure if it was intending to. For example, obviously Santa aged, a certain amount
And
of
then
his
he stopped
lifespan
aging.
over a period of time. So therefore it implies strongly that Santa is at the end of his life and is going to die.
I pointed out maybe this is like the prequel to the Santa Claus. He'll die, and then that's why we get Tim Allen to become Santa.
Like the Santa
that's an
Extended
interesting
Universe.
idea. So
Yes. See?
So this, well, I was gonna say there's like a whole thing to this, which is that the elves. So the elves. So this movie is some hot bullshit because they could have at least told me that all the elves like went on vacation, but they're just like mostly not there. And the elves that were shown are like the least elf-like elves ever. Because if you watch the first Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie made by the same production company using stop motion and everything, there's literally a character named Herbie who is an elf that sucks ass
Herman,
at making
you mean?
whatever his name is. Who cares? Whatever.
Well, I just want to make
I
sure.
mean,
I was
Herbie
see.
for
listening.
him,
So-
he just wants to be a dentist. Leave him alone.
He wants to be a dentist.
He wants to be a dentist, right? So he sucks at making toys. He hates doing it, so he wants to be a dentist, right? It's a really cute thing. But then we get all the classic elves and their little green hats and their, all of that stuff, and it's really kind of cute. But like this movie is just like the elves really don't exist. It feels cheaper in a lot of ways, and we'll probably get to many of the reasons why. But the stop motion is still fun.
Yeah, no,
like,
I mean, I was actually initially excited about the fact that it was stop motion because I really like stop motion and it doesn't get used enough as an art form as far as I'm concerned. And then approximately 30 minutes into the movie, I looked at how much time was left because I was like, surely we are almost at the end because this has been like an hour and a half already, and it was not. So that was so the
I see how you're mixing a dislike into your like.
yeah, but I'm just saying that my love of stop motion got me through the first 30 minutes of the movie. So that's good.
Okay.
That's not nothing.
That's fair.
it's weird that the stop motion, like, I love the idea of stop motion, and like the original Rudolph is, like, yeah, it's not perfect because it's made for TV and like all that stuff, but like it's still, you watch it and you go like, I can suspend my disbelief. But like there's a line at which like this movie creeps really close to that line of where you just stop going like they didn't do enough. Like I don't know if it crosses for anybody else, but it got dangerously close to that line for me, in a way that the previous films by this same company did not.
There was definitely a cheapening of the overall product in this film, which means it didn't come quite as smooth and polished as previous films in this franchise. Well, here's something you took away. This is basically the Avengers movie of the Rudolph and
Yeah, because it
and
had
Frosty
like
universes.
everything. It had
Because they threw in lots of characters. I mean, not only do we have Rudolph and Frosty getting together to fight evil, we get characters from other of the movies in their backstories show up randomly. I mean, the whale is from Jack
what
Frost.
was the whale? Like I obviously have not seen all of the things.
Yeah. There's one where Rudolph meets Father Time, and that whale is in that one. I remember watching it
They
growing
were
up.
The
doing
same
some
voice
really
actor came
good
back to do it
drugs
again.
in the 70s. Jesus.
I was too young to
That's
take
funny
any of
you
those
say
myself.
what drugs were they taking, because there were two things that my brother and I noticed that were not going to be my dislike, but I found really
no,
funny.
I know where you're going with this.
But,
oh God.
There is the funny moment where we get to the circus the first time, and like just in the background are like the two most stereotypical fucking like Native Americans you've ever seen in your life, who later are like balancing on like an elephant or whatever. Like, and we were just like, wow, that was a bit racist, because it's like it's almost caricatured to such a degree. But then there was another moment that I noticed while I was watching with my brother, which is there's the moment when the two characters go to kiss, and a hat comes in front to block the kiss, which was like, it's just so much like that era of like, we must protect the kiddies from any vague notion
Save the
of intimacy.
gotta save the children. Yeah. Obviously. That's just science.
Yeah, it's so weird. But like the implication is it's not like a peck on the cheek. Like they went lips on.
No, but they're like, yeah. Very, very strange mores in this movie.
It does have very strange morals.
Yeah, especially considering like the mom character had such giant hooters. Holy shit. Which is not a criticism. I'm not saying people shouldn't have big boobs. It was just very weird because the body type of the puppet was very different from every other puppet. And I was just like, damn, they made her stacked. What the fuck?
Did they Dolly Parton, or is that what you're thinking?
They really did.
Yes.
I got a lot of like weirdly Dolly Parton vibes with like certain characters.
Except that was Ethel Merman's character, right?
Yeah.
No. No. Oh, yeah. The head of the circus.
Yeah. The head of the circus.
I was thinking the blonde who's also a little pneumatic. She's sticky. She's thick. She's thick, except for the her.
She's stick thin and she's all legs and no torso.
Yeah.
She was like this much leg and like this much torso. Like it was. I mean, it's a cartoon character, so like I get it. You can have fun with it.
But still, proportions. Learn them.
Well, I mean, you don't. Do you really? They're cartoon characters. They're not real people. They can have different biology. Maybe all of her organs just fit in that spot, or they're all in her legs.
Did you say? Okay, I know you meant all of her organs, but it sounded like you said all of her gorgons.
Yeah, and that's a different thing. I mean, I was petrified watching this film, but that's a different problem entirely. Sorry. Yes, I do puns. Yes, yes, new listeners.
Well, Paul, what about your like? What's your like?
You're both going to hate me, but I do like the fact that we retcon Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Let me finish. I do like because it
start taking my earrings off.
Oh God. And this, friends, is where Paul gets kicked off of the show permanently. I was fascinated by their retcon and their similarity like approach to explaining why Rudolph has his red nose. Because before this movie, it was like, okay, it's a random mutation. He gets bullied for it, and
it's a racial metaphor. That's what it is. It's a metaphor about prejudice. Just like
instead they make him into Jesus.
Right.
No, he's not Jesus. And then randomly there happens to be that Christmas happens to be foggy and his nose becomes useful, so he becomes useful thing. This movie actually makes an actual logical through line as to what happened. Okay, so Winterbolt's going to put a fog and destroy Santa's attempt at Christmas. Therefore Aurora Borealis basically gives magic powers to Rudolph so that to foil Winterbolt. It fascinated me, this whole like, okay, basically Rudolph is basically used as is basically made into an agent of good by the Aurora Borealis to stop Winterbolt's first attempt to usurp Santa. It makes sense rather than like, okay, I mean, it kind of puts her responsible for Rudolph getting bullied growing up, but on the other hand, but it makes sense, like, why would he randomly have this mutation that just happens to be useful that particular Christmas? That's because it's the counter Winterbolt's evil plan. And when we get to see Santa go to the North Pole, like I didn't even think about it. Did Santa always live in the North Pole? No, he did not. He lived somewhere else and moved up there to build his toy shop away from people. They say that explicitly, that he wanted to win in peace. So we get this backstory on him, on Winterbolt. We get all the other characters from all these other movies showing up, kind of making this whole extended cinematic universe of mythology and lore. I mean, the plot itself is pants. Winterbolt is not the most effective of villains, and frankly, okay, I'm going to a dislike as well. It's like, frankly, he's a glass cannon because he can't take a punch. I mean, Rudolph kicks his ass, pardon my language.
Paul, in fairness to Winterbolt, he's a wizard, so he only has like, D6s for his health die.
I mean, cast a shield spell, man. Do
true mage armor.
Mirror image. The defensive spells are your friends.
My brother kept wondering, like, why he clearly can like use his little fairy dust space magic to like manipulate people's minds. So why doesn't he just manipulate Santa into like doing?
He did manipulate Santa.
No, he manipulates him for an elaborate plot instead of just being like,
as I said,
tracks.
I said Winterbolt's plans are overly complicated and weird and don't work. He's a classic villain that way. He has this elaborate Rube Goldberg plot to become King of the North, where you could probably just do him much more directly if he just put his mind to it. But he's not the brightest bulb in the bunch. He's relying on this genie to tell him what to do. The genie giving him all this weird plans. I don't know if the genie's trying to hamstring him.
Who knows?
Hoping that he'll fall so he can be free, because that'd be a very Jin thing to do. Like, if I manipulate Winter Bolt into failing, then I get to be free.
But like Paul, his plots are simultaneously convoluted and dumb as balls. Like
I agree with you, but
they're both.
I agree with you. They're convoluted and dumb and don't work in the end.
Well, I mean, he is the villain. Like, did we expect at the end, like, he's taken over the toy shop?
I will note something before it slips my mind. You know the scene where Santa, like, comes to the North Pole and is like, now I can build my toy shop?
In peace, yeah.
Yeah, he says something there, too, where he basically was like, and no one can stop me.
And no one can stop me,
like, damn, Santa.
That's a little aggressive.
And no one can
stop me. And I was like, that's some villain talk right there, buddy.
It sounds like Santa has some issues.
He does. He's got many problems.
I mean, we don't explore that in greater detail, but we get that little bit anyway. Santa's not always been at the North Pole. He's there for a reason.
Do you think it's about
perhaps
tax
nefarious ones, apparently?
Yeah. It might be about tax law. Like, he's getting taxed on all his toys. He wants to go where you can't tax his income.
Well, let's think about this. So Saint Nicholas. No. I'm going to go further because I'm geeky. Saint Nicholas is from 6th century Turkey, which is okay. This is why he went to This is why he went to the North Pole. 6th century Turkey was run by the Byzantine Empire. He's basically running from tax farmers.
I was right.
And it's
like literally what I just said.
But right. You were right. But Paul has now given you historical context.
Yeah, but that seems impressive if Paul didn't actually live through it. But like,
wow.
He was fucking there.
Like... You went there. So yes, Santa Claus escapes tax farmers and starts a toy shop in the North Pole.
And no one can stop him.
And no one can stop him. Not even Justinian can stop it.
So there's a comment in chat from Triffity Mats. She says, well, yeah, in Santa Claus is Coming to Town, another Rankin Bass special, which precedes this one, the Burgomeister Meisterburger was preventing Kringle's toy distribution. I've never seen that movie, but apparently, in fact, there were issues involved. What we're saying is that that movie is the Phantom Menace of this franchise. There was, in fact, a trade dispute.
You were the chosen one!
Yeah, and so apparently our Palpatine is Winterbolt, who is just trying to take power. I guess technically, what is Santa like? Is he like Yoda? Like, or is he more like a Qui-Gon Jinn?
I feel like he's more like the like Obi-Wan Jedi Master figure.
That's fair. Yeah, and Rudolph is Anakin then. Does that mean that we expect Rudolph to go bad?
Well, I mean, obviously, Lady Boreal was concerned about this because she went to a child who was literally 5 minutes old and was like, I'm going to give you a magic power, but if you ever even think about evil, it will go away. Do you understand me? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, absolutely. He doesn't even fucking understand English at this point.
No.
Shut up.
My brother and I were saying the same thing. Like she's just like snuck into this house, like, or this cave, and just like talking to this baby deer that's like literally been born 8 minutes ago. And like this elaborate shit. It's not even like simplified. It's like full on sentences.
but I love that. Did you both notice the imagery that they borrowed for Lady Boreal?
You mean the sort of like the Catholic glow, or do you mean a different one?
Yes, yeah. They were channeling Mother Mary of God and Catholic glow imagery.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
she was like fucking saint. Like,
yes, it's like I was just impressed. It's like, oh my God, what does this have to say about this universe?
It's the visitation to Rudolph.
Were you there for the founding of the Catholic Church, Paul?
According to your chronology, I was alive at the time.
You were not alive.
Was I actually in Palestine at the time? I will neither confirm nor deny that.
Okay, I like how you said my chronology, not your genetic chronology after I've done the genetic test to determine your exact age.
I'm just saying the chronology you've laid out, I was existing at the time. Where I actually was, I will not say.
I didn't lay this out. Your genetics did.
Thank you,
Anyway.
Sean.
A Time Lord never gives up his secrets.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, yes, I know it retcons a bunch of things, but it ties all things together and gives Rudolph a purpose.
And Catholicism.
I enjoyed that.
Catholicism gives him a purpose.
A purpose. Well, no, it's not. It's a purpose and Catholicism.
It's a purpose and Catholicism.
Oh my
I was
goodness.
raised Catholic, listeners and watchers, so maybe that's why I kind of leaned into this. But Sean, we need to know what you liked about this film.
Well, I think my favorite thing about I really don't like very much. Like, Ethel Merman is kind of fun. She's the best singer on the cast, but every song is fucking trash in this movie.
I mean, I was gonna say that's a low bar, and
the music. I mean, it kind of made me think of B. Arthur and the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh no, I would rather watch that than this again. Like,
that was
down.
longer. that was longer and had Wookiee porn. I'm not quite sure.
But it's interesting and also has fucking Carrie Fisher like on some shit.
Coked up,
she is on some like cocaine or hair, like something, and it's amazing.
That's fair.
But
that's fair.
By the way, for everyone watching, as always, please do not do illicit drugs, and please speak to your medical professional for any medical tips on which drugs you should be taking. Because we are in no way providing medical advice or drug-related advice. You should talk to medical professionals for that.
Is this an issue?
I'm on Twitch, and I'm just assuming that if we talk too much about drugs and alcohol, like, they just come in and censor the shit out of us. So I'm making sure people know we are in no way endorsing the consumption of alcohol in inappropriate amounts or drug use. At all. But we'll say fuck water as much as we want.
Yes. Hydrate.
Hydration is important.
Paul is promoting hydration, and I will second that. Drink a glass of water as soon as you wake up every morning. You got to be hydrated for this shit.
Yeah. But anyway, so my like. So I think the thing I like is a little bit backhanded, and it's mostly because I just found it a little bit funny, which is there's this bit in the thing. So there's a plot in this, which is that Winterbolt has given Frosty and his family that he apparently got his kids to create his own wife, which there's a whole issue.
It's very Commander Data.
I was thinking more along the lines, it's that Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence movie. It kind of feels kind of like that. Like, it's just like really uncomfortable. But anyway, point is, right, so he's got this family and they want to go to Christmas in July, but they're snow people, which means they can't handle heat, which fair enough. I get exactly how you feel. I also melt when it's really, really warm. And so Winterbolt's like, I'll give you some like little amulets and that'll solve the problem.
Which they immediately find this weird, creepy man with a giant beard trustworthy. But I guess it's because they're used to thinking that Santa is also trustworthy and he's kind of a weird, creepy dude with a giant beard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're used to finding bearded men.
And they live in a universe where these characters exist. Yeah. So like, yeah.
I mean, it's really weird because when we see young Santa, my immediate reaction was this guy is straight up joining a militia. Because the beard game, like he had that perfect beard shit. Like, you know, he joined some like alpha male fucking MRA group or whatever to get that beard oil for his beard. It just wasn't right. Just saying. Anyway, so there's this bit, right, where they're, so the Frosty has gone over there, but they find out, like, oh, the amulets, like, if the fireworks all go off, we melt, which is, like, sad or whatever. And so Santa's like, don't worry, instead of coming exactly at the moment when you're traveling, I'll come later to make sure that you don't freak, so we can get you, like, we can collect you, which, sure, okay, they couldn't have taken the balloon, but whatever, doesn't matter. So Santa and his wife, Mrs. Claus, get in their shit, and they, like, start flying, and Winterbolt creates a big old, storm. And there's this moment when they get into the center of the storm, and I guess Santa has, like, lived quite a while, because his reaction to, we're in the eye of the storm, but we're probably not gonna make it, is like, he just gives up. He's like, we're gonna die. Sorry. Like, They don't, but it's still really funny to me that, like, his immediate reaction is just, sorry, Mama, we're gonna die. I thought that was so funny.
There's a lot of weird fatalism in this movie. There's that fatalism. Frosty is fatalistic throughout this entire film. I mean, he keeps making comments, oh yeah, he's gonna melt, and all these jokes about this. I mean, Rudolph when he's ostracized. I mean, this movie goes to weird, dark places. I mean, this is almost like the level of like those ABC after school specials, with very special episode on depression and suicide. I was expecting a phone number at some point. Like, if you're feeling these thoughts, kids, call 1-800-GET-HELP.
Yeah,
like, because it was like very, 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 very heavy handed. It's like, my God.
Well, speaking of ABC, one of the bootlegs you can get of this movie on archive.org is in fact an ABC Family showing of this with the commercials of whenever it looks fairly modern, so I didn't watch that version, but you can in fact watch an ABC special version of this.
No, I actually paid $3 to rent this thing. God help me.
You're welcome. I paid nothing.
I blame you. I blame you because you told me to watch this. So I blame you, Sean.
To be fair, you do volunteer to be on this podcast, and I in no way have blackmail on any of you.
Do you, Sean? Do you?
I mean, of the two people on this podcast that I might have blackmail on, it's definitely not Alex. Alex does not give a shit. So any blackmail I have, Alex would be like,
I'd be like, I already posted those pictures, bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like, whereas Paul, I feel like I would never do this. But if I had blackmail on you, Paul, I feel like I could use it.
That's fair.
Paul is actually a good member of society, unlike Alex.
Yeah.
Well, there are people who feel I'm not a good member of society.
Well, yeah, but they can fuck up a wall.
Yeah, they can definitely find a place to shove it. Yeah. So Annie in the chat would like to say, existential angst and nihilism for everyone. Yay!
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it was...
It is a thing in this entire movie. It's like, it's just not... I mean, it's like darker than any children's cartoon I ever remember.
It's a bit dark, and in a way that, like, the first film in this whole series isn't, even though that film does get a little dark. Because it's got, like, a racial allegory.
Like, a man taking his children to the seaside where they all die together. Like...
Yeah, if you think about the plot, yes. They go to the seaside and they melt.
I love how it lingered. It lingered on each puddle. And they're all appropriately sized to their body.
I mean, the movie knows what it's doing. It
wants you to know that those snowmen are fucking dead.
They are and when they're resurrected, I laughed at this so much. They're resurrected, and instead of Jack Frost shows up and he
on
blows
a whale
on them, and then
inexplicably
on the whale, as you do.
Well, no, it is explicable. The whale went to South America.
Right, Jack Frost hangs out in South America because it's winter during summer there. Yeah.
Right, and the whale knew that, so the whale went and got him.
Follow-up question: with the whale, is that also like some more Catholicism that we could pull into this?
Is it the whale that swallowed Jonah?
I don't recall the whale ever swallowing anybody in the first in the film he shows up. So no, there's no Jonah in there.
Darn.
Sadly. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
You can't prove that Father Time didn't swallow Jonah.
Wait, the whale is Father Time?
No, the whale's not.
The whale's like Father Time's hench whale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
God, I wish I could drink alcohol.
Yes, and for listeners who are curious about that, that's Rudolph's Shiny New Year is
the other movie
is the movie where the whale shows up,
right? And it
has basically Father Time asks Santa Claus for help and sends Rudolph, basically, and
as you do,
shenanigans happen.
Yeah,
it is. I found out later it was made in Japan.
Yeah. It's like a Japanese crew that does all the stop animation.
Yeah, I mean, it is very odd.
I'm just like, yes, that well-known New Year's character, the New Year's whale. Be very good and stand
His
to
name
midnight,
is Big-
children, and you may see the New Year's whale flying across the sky.
Annie in chat is saying it would have been kind of hilarious if Pinocchio popped out of the whale, which is immediately what I thought. Like, I thought there's way too much Pinocchio imagery because they all, like, Winterbolt has this whole plan of, like, I'm gonna corrupt him with, like, this rejected, like, weasel fox
Oh my god.
deer thing monster who
the evil
oh god,
reindeer.
I'm sure we'll get back to him because well,
I mean, I love that his plan for corruption was, I'm going to frame you for a crime. And it still doesn't count as having used your nose with evil in your heart because Rudolph is too fucking dumb.
Yeah, he stumbles into the crime.
Yeah.
well, that's
like-
what's weird is because he doesn't use his nose for evil,
No,
right?
at
he,
no point
he
does
goes
he
in
use-
thinking he's helping somebody.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize it's evil. So I guess the message is like ignorance isn't an excuse, which I guess is a fair point.
I mean, if we go Catholic theology, I mean, ignorance is not always an excuse for a venal sin.
Well,
So,
the Catholic
you know?
Church would know a lot about that.
So that explains why Rudolph, and since Rudolph isn't telling the truth, yeah. So he loses his
there we go.
power.
That's the evil he committed, is he lied
Yep,
consciously.
lying. Yeah, he lies.
Oh, that's
like
a fair
rug.
point.
All right, children, now
So,
you know
yeah.
if you lie, your nose is gonna fall off.
Yeah, that's
Or
a
stop glowing.
Or stop
that's a big
glowing.
thing. Yeah,
Yes,
and
they
if
do.
you masturbate, you'll grow hair on your hands and you'll go blind. You've got those good old 70s, folks. That's how it works.
You weren't even alive then, Sean. How do you
I've
know?
seen the movies.
Okay.
Mostly I've seen references to that stuff. I've never actually seen that stuff. I do have a fun story about when Jehovah's Witnesses came to my house and have ruined any experience I have with religious people at my house door since. If anyone wants to hear it.
Why
To
don't
be
you tell us
clear,
the
I don't
story,
have
Sean?
anything against all religious people. This is just... So, like, Jehovah's Witnesses came to the house once. Which is what they do. Whatever. Like, and they, like, ask questions and it's like, cool. Like, you can come back when, like, my mom is home or whatever, right? And so, they came when my mom was home. And I'm sitting there going, like, cool, they're going to talk to my mom. I don't really know what's going on. I'm, like, 12 years old. I fucking know nothing. I go to church, but I don't know any of this shit. And then the Jehovah's Witness lady was like, oh, and your son was asking us about masturbation. And I was like, no, the fuck I did not. I absolutely did not ask that question
I mean,
of
there
a
is
fucking
no
stranger.
12-year-old who would ask like an adult stranger about that. You would die of embarrassment.
I literally, the next time they came to the house, I saw them coming and I fucking hid. Like, I was like, we're not home. Nope.
Oh,
my
Sean, oh, Sean, oh,
God.
Sean.
Not all
Amazing.
Jehovah's Witnesses are like this, just to be clear. I've met some that are not like this, but like, oh man, that was an experience.
Oh
That's-
boy.
We used to have Jehovah's Witnesses coming by like fairly regularly, and that's because Mike would haze them, where every time they showed up, which, to be clear, Mike is a lapsed Catholic, he'd be like, yes, let's talk about this Jesuit style. And they kept coming back to bring him more copies of the Watchtower, and he'd talk to them because he thought it was funny.
Oh, whoa.
What was weird, so my grandpa was a pastor, right? So I think Protestant, I think is what they were. And so obviously my grandmother was the wife of a pastor, right? And people would come up to their house, and like their house wasn't an easy get to. You had to like go up a big old hill. Like it was a bit of a trek to get up there. So they'd come to the house all the time, and my grandma would just troll them the entire time. Like she would just say like kind of vaguely sort of offensive things about stuff in the Bible and all that. And one day they like asked, like I think it was like Jehovah's Witnesses one day, and they were like, you know, why are you saying all of this stuff? You're a pastor's wife. And she looked at him and went, if you knew I was a pastor's wife, why the fuck are you here? Like, you're here. Like, what did you expect was going to happen? Like, you came to share the word of Jesus with someone who already believes in the word of Jesus. Like, it was a whole thing. Anyway, the point is, sometimes people can be bad. And sometimes they can be perfectly fine. And I'm not in any way suggesting that all Jehovah's Witnesses are like this, just I have had some odd experiences. So, I will say the Mormons were the nicest when they came to my door. Which, I don't know if that's a ruse or something, but they were really nice. They always were like, hey, come out to our little party. We'll have then no beer, but cake or whatever.
We'll have
like, come hang with us.
non-caffeinated soda.
yeah,
Non-caffeinated
basically.
soda.
I always thought that was interesting of they knew I was an atheist, but they would be like, oh, that's okay. Like, let's have a chat. And why don't you come out to our event? And all that kind of stuff. I have my issues with the
I mean, they
Mormon
always wear their
church, but-
bicycle helmets, and good for them.
Yeah, but they were always very nice, which I did appreciate because, frankly, if you're
None
going
of
to
them
convert
told
me...
them that your mom told your mom that you wanted to ask about masturbation.
Yeah. No Mormon who came to my door tried to tell my mom that I asked them about masturbation. Never.
Jesus.
Never happened.
It's just... That is... wow, that lady was just like, I am gonna fuck with this kid.
I guess so. I don't know what she was thinking, but they never came in that house again. Mm-mm. I for the record, folks, did not ask that question. Absolutely, the fuck did not ask that question. That was
you didn't
not
ask
in the sequel.
An adult woman that you had never met before who was trying to give you religious tracts about masturbation? That sounds really sus.
Oh no, yeah, I 100% did not ask that question.
So now that we know Sean's dislike about Jehovah's Witnesses,
Yeah, how about dislikes
we
about
should
the
get into
movie?
dislikes about the movie, as Paul
What about
said.
okay?
All right, Alex,
Okay,
what's
you're
your
up,
dislike?
Alex. I dislike that
Uh-oh.
this movie had Ethel Merman and Mickey Rooney in it, two of our great comedians from that time, and it was boring as shit and unfunny, and all of the songs were terrible. With Ethel Merman.
With Ethel Merman.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It made part of my gay soul die.
The songs suck.
The songs are terrible! And I mean, I
They're
will say,
not good.
when the first song started up, I was just, my literal response was, oh no, it's a musical. And it just got worse.
It doesn't
Yeah.
get much better. The best song is the song they didn't write for this, which is the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song, which was written by not even by anyone involved in the Bass Right Kid, because I think that was done before.
Oh, yeah,
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to, if listeners and watchers, you want to watch a good Ethel Merman Mickey Rooney movie, my favorite is It's a Mad, Mad, Mad,
Yes!
Mad World.
Yes.
it's a good one.
It's and then you go from that to this?
Yes, it is very sad. It's oh God.
I mean...
Trivia Matt is saying that the songs felt lifeless, and I
yeah.
agree. They feel like the first song you write before you figure out what is the thing you should be working
and
from.
kind
They
of the
just
whole
feel
point
so
to
dead.
a musical, right? It's kind of like with an action movie, a good action movie. Every action sequence builds to the character and tells you something about the character or interactions with other people. In a musical, the songs are not only supposed to be fun or sad or whatever, but they are supposed to inform you of the character who is singing them and the characters who are involved in them. If it's a dance number, that's supposed to tell you stuff about them too. And that's the good musicals are like that. None of these songs, I mean, it just felt
they're just
yeah,
there.
it just felt like they were oh, well, I guess this should be a musical.
Let's have a song.
Yeah,
now.
let's have
It
a
does
song
feel
now.
like that. After the fact, they decided. I mean, obviously they didn't. They intended this to be a musical, but it feels like after the fact they went, maybe it should be a musical. But you can't do that. You have to know it's a musical, and then you have to build the songs to elicit emotion.
There's late in the movie they do just Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer just randomly without any reason. It's just are you just padding out your time or something? Because there's no reason to have this song here and now. It says there's no moment in the script or in the plot that requires you to have this song. It's just let's throw in a song at this point.
Yeah, and most of the
It's
songs seem to be just extremely tepid love-ish songs where it's just I'm happy I'm with you. I'm happy I'm with you too in this heterosexual pair bonding. Yay! But not even that enthusiastic. It was it told me nothing about the relationships.
Right, it did. That's the thing is in a musical, the songs are adding to the story. In fact, in a lot of musicals, they are the center of the story because there isn't usually that much dialogue between them. This has quite a bit of it.
Yeah, but I mean, a good musical, you can just listen to all the songs and you will understand what's going on.
Right. Like, if I
Not
listen
this
to The
movie.
Greatest Showman, I can follow the story of The Greatest Showman through the songs. I know what the main plot beats are, even if I don't have the middle bits.
So,
Yeah.
that's my
And
dislike.
this doesn't.
Fuck this movie.
Yeah. And, like, even the performances are bad.
Oh yeah, it's criminal underuse of Ethel Merman by giving her a shitty
I mean, she's
song
the
and
best
then I don't know, like putting her
there.
on Quaaludes and having her sing it. Like I don't know what was going on.
I mean, she's the best on the lot. Like, she does sing the best.
Yeah.
But
But still, it's like under.
Yeah, by Ethel Merman
underdone.
standards, I was just like, who are you?
yeah, it does feel empty and dead, and it just I came to the conclusion at the end of this that this felt more like a cash grab than it did like.
Well, as it so happens, this is the last movie done by Bankin and Rass.
Thank God.
I mean, the subsequent movies in this cinematic universe are done by other people. This is the last one, so they kind of does feel like a cash grab. Yes, there are. They're not done by Bankin and Rass though, so are they actually canonical? That's a good question.
Oh, and don't worry. There is a movie called Rudolph and the Island of Misfit Toys from 2001 where they used early CG animation. And it is hot ass garbage. It is some of the worst visuals. They should have just gone with cheap versions of the stop animation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Fun fact. Speaking of the stop animation, nobody thought the first Rudolph film was going to be popular. They had no idea how popular it would be. So like people just like family of production would take some of the puppets home with them. Because they were just going to throw them away. So a lot of them got thrown away. And, like, some of them later, like, many decades later, went for, like 10 grand a piece. Some of the puppets. Like, yeah. So, to put it in perspective. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Paul, what about you?
Okay, so I kind of pointed to it in my tagline. I was trying to figure out a logical geography of this world in this film, and it doesn't make much sense. So we have the North Pole, and it's in Frosty says, "Oh yes, it's June and it's 10 below and it's warm." I'm thinking that's not many places where that actually is true. We're not in a mini ice age at this point. Even up in Canada, that's not exactly true. Then, I mean, in Antarctica maybe, but they are North Pole, not South Pole denizens. Then we get this weird rush through of all these places that Winterbolt needs to pass through in order to find his crappy evil reindeer. There's then there's that, and then there's the whole seashore. So this is the circus by the sea, right? So they go to a presumably tropical or semi-tropical location. Doesn't say where. I was trying to figure out, is this Florida? Is this the Gulf Coast? And for all of that going to a circus by the sea, we see the sea in the distance. You'd think the kids and everyone else would actually be interested in the ocean? And there's weirdly and oddly not. I mean, the only interaction with the ocean we get is the whale. Yeah. Other than that, nobody seems to care there's a big fucking ocean there. Like, what's the deal with that? But I mean, he's sailing to South America, so it's got to be a southern facing coast probably. But it's just like, what is, and like, how long is it supposed to take them to fly to there and back under normal circumstances? How the geography and distances seem to be very arbitrary. I mean, we have evil reindeer fly there because he eats the magic corn, which kind of looked like crack cocaine to me.
Yeah,
that's a different.
Yeah, or like little ice cubes or something. Yeah.
But it's like, where are the distances and what is the landscape actually supposed to be like? I have serious reservations that there's no consistency here whatsoever. And they have this giant snowstorm, and they come out of the snowstorm and they're at the circus by the sea. It's like, huh? Where does that work? Yeah, so I mean, as a fellow member of the asshole Cartographers Club with Alex. It's like I was offended by the lack of geographical logic in this movie.
Like it bothered me constantly that, like, you know, the North Pole scenes, okay, they look like they're basically in daylight most of the time, which it should be, because it should be almost functionally 24 hours of day. Yep. And by the way, I looked at the average North Pole temperatures for June, which is like 49 to 67 degrees.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah. But anyway, but then every time we see fucking Winterbolt, even when he's outside, it is pitch fucking black.
In June. In July. It's like, how does that work? Ever? I mean, does he have a cone of darkness around
you know, it's because he's a bad man, I guess. Like, I don't know. But some of it I was like, oh, he's in his weird, stupid ice palace. But there were times where it was like, no, he's actually outside. And it's just dark. He's outside,
yeah.
For reasons. Yeah. I was very offended by it as well. It's like, latitude. What does it mean? You know, it's a suggestion. It's fine.
So, I knew that one of you was going to bring this up. So, over the weekend, I made the decision to get into Esri's ArcGIS, and really, I spent about 6 hours gathering data and putting it into ArcGIS so I could actually come up with a fully formed map of the geography of this film. And I would share that with you, but since I didn't actually do that, this is all a lie.
I was going to say, I was so impressed for a minute because you said ArcGIS, and I was like, oh my god, he's actually like...
Yeah, he's actually saying the right things.
I know what ArcGIS is. We literally covered mapping in my digital humanities course this semester.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's cool.
I did not know that. Okay.
We started with Google My Maps because it was kind of an easy introduction, but I introduced them to ArcGIS. None of them used it, but because they have a story maps thing, which is kind of cool, which lets you tell kind of stories with mapping and stuff. But there's like a really cool stuff you can do with ArcGIS if you have access to it.
But then you didn't use it, so...
But I didn't actually use it, yeah.
But you didn't actually do it.
No.
I mean, that would have been more time than this movie deserved.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah, there's no way that would have been worth it. But you would have been fucking impressed if I had been like, let me give you my lecture with fucking slides.
I would have been very impressed.
I think you would have... I think you were stunned as both to silence.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I did not win the internet today.
No.
No. I have too much grading to do for this.
Oh, God. Well, Sean, what is your dislike then?
Well, there are many things to dislike about this movie. The fact that it's an hour and a half long and yet feels like 9 days is certainly one of them. The last 15 minutes were alarming to me because I checked. I was like, where are we? We're at like 14 minutes and 50 seconds. And it's like, holy shit. There's still resolution to this fucking story that we have to get to.
Yeah, the pacing of the plotting is like, what the hell?
It felt forever. Like, and I figured out why. It feels like forever. Unlike the other films, which usually have some kind of backing track for most of the film, or at least some form of sound effect that at least gives us some background sound, like, you know, wind or something like that. So much of this film is empty space. There's nothing going on in the background. You know, occasionally you get it with, like, Winterbolt. He gets a background sound, you know, with a little bit of music, ominous music. But so much of this film is dialogue empty, dialogue empty, dialogue empty. There's so little actual music in this film, and it drags everything out because you feel the empty spaces so much more than if there was music there. And while I wasn't intending this to be my dislike, I'm making it now because fuck it.
Well, you're there.
It is a critical failing in the design of this film. You need something there. It needs to be a sound effect or a little bit of music or something so that hour and a half runtime, which is really fucking long for
it's
a
the
stop
longest
animation
of
children's movie.
Yeah, for all these movies.
It needs that sound. It needs a little bit. And what drives me nuts is they had an orchestra. You know, like probably like a 20 or 30 piece orchestra, nothing quite huge, but they did music for this. And they could have had little flourishes in the background. You know, it would have made me constantly think that I was watching an episode of Family Guy because the soundtrack sounds exactly like a Family Guy episode. But at least a little bit of that in the background, just something to kind of give it life, so that when Frosty, giving the worst performance that the actor is, like, I think ever given for that character, is talking, at least there's something to kind of keep your ears entertained. But this film is like, it is a sequence of empty spaces, and it drives me nuts.
That's a good metaphor for the entire film. It's a sequence of empty space.
It is. It's a sequence of empty spaces.
Yeah.
That sounds like a song.
No, we're not. This is not a musical episode.
I mean, it sounds like a really cool title for a poem.
Yeah. There you go. That'd be good.
But yeah, it's
Brandon
like I
O'Brien
hadn't
is
even
in chat
noticed
right
that.
now.
I just knew.
Brandon! Oh, Brandon!
Like, I hadn't even noticed the lack of sound design. I just was like, I don't like this. And I will admit, after the first about half hour, 40 minutes, I was like, I cannot take this anymore. So I left it playing on my TV upstairs, and I came downstairs and played video games while I listened to it.
You listened to it.
Yes. Because I
You asshole.
I could not handle watching it anymore because I was so bored.
It is really, really, really boring. And it's sad because, like, so when you watch the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, they have Yukon Cornelius, like this really flamboyant, fun character who's telling you all the time that bumbles bounce, and he's like flipping his little pickaxe up, and then it lands in the ice, and he licks it, and he says, "Ah, nuts!" And like he's constantly looking for gold, right? He's such a fun character, so when you see him, you're like, "Oh, this is really fun." Or, you know, the Bumbles, aka the Abominable Snowman, right, is kind of scary and really fun to watch. Or Rudolph, or, you know, Herbie, or like any of those.
Herman, yeah.
Yeah, all of those characters are really interesting, and there's great backing music, and they do a good job for, admittedly, a very short film, 50-something minutes. And in this film, it's like, you just made a longer film, but filled it with nothing.
Yeah, a lot of the characters, they don't have... Because, I mean, the reason it works so well for a children's movie, for the original one, is because, yeah, they're characters where they just have, like, a gimmick, and they lean into it, and they make it ridiculous.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
And they don't do that with any of the characters. Like, the one they got closest to was, I feel like, Ethel Merman's character, because she had, like, the little thing with the guns. But even that, you don't see it very much of it. And then she had her, like, big reveal with her gun at the end, where she was like, yeah, it's firing blanks, but it's made of steel. And I was like, what?
And she threw it.
Yeah. And I was like, okay.
It feels like an afterthought when we get to that moment. It doesn't feel earned in any meaningful way. Whereas with Yukon Cornelius, it is, because he's constantly telling us, Bumbles bounce, and like he's doing all this stuff. So when he has the Bumble that is his friend at the end, like there's all this previous stuff we can pull from. Whereas her, what is she linked to? She just does the circus, and she's constantly telling like her daughter or whatever, like she needs to be better at her job. Like that's
yeah,
it.
they that's Ethel Merman's character,
Yeah.
which is sad to say.
She's a terrible stage mom with guns.
Yeah. And they could have made her really cool. They could have made her a fun character of like, ha, pew, pew, and like made her kind of a, you know, like a caricature of a Western
I mean,
figure.
they could have made her like, you know, Dolly Parton meets Yosemite Sam. And
yeah,
they did not.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. Why didn't we make this movie?
We made it much better.
I mean, to be fair, every time we do this episode, I feel like we get to
We
this
say
point
that. We say this in many episodes. We could have done this much better than that.
Hire us to fix your shit. Like,
God.
Yeah. Yeah, Trevor Matz is agreeing. So many wasted opportunities. I agree.
Wasted.
You know,
yeah.
even the ice cream guy was kind of an interesting character that they just do nothing
I mean, he
with.
stores his ice cream up in the North Pole to keep it frozen, and he's in love with Ethel Merman's daughter.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting, but then he just like disappears. He stops being a part of the show. It's just, yeah. I mean, like, well, and then
he's a plot device at best. Yeah,
and then we get to what's
there.
his name, the like freaking evil reindeer who is like rejected from Santa's troop.
He's like, Rudolph, don't mention that name to me.
Yeah,
I was gonna be on
like,
the team, and then I got thrown off for him, and I was like,
Scratcher.
Yeah.
Scratcher was the name.
What a
yeah.
name.
well, and the thing
Scratcher.
that I really don't understand
Scratcher,
is like,
no scratching.
when you get into the Misfit Cave hotel thing, where he's living, which I guess is supposed to be like a creepy, you know, weekly hotel.
Creepy boarding house.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Bowery of the North Pole. Again, I have questions.
Yeah, and the guy, the proprietor, I'm guessing, is like, oh, well, I'd like to deal with him too, but he's really mean, so you go deal with him. And then you meet him and you're like,
he's pathetic.
Yeah, like, in what universe does this little dorky whiny reindeer, like, pose a threat to the scary man at the front desk?
Man, scary man at the front desk could turn him into sausage pretty easily, I think.
And, maybe they were trying to set up, like, a joke because it's ridiculous, but they did not follow through in a way that would complete the joke and make it funny. It was just baffling.
Yeah. His whole character is really quite baffling. Just, he's a rejected deer, but he also looks like a weasel fox monster who's emaciated.
Well, it's all the cocaine he does.
I kept wondering, because steroids are in fact part of Santa canon in this, because apparently Santa has these magic, like, ice corn that he feeds to his deer that allowed them to fly, which means he's doping his deer.
He is doping his deer.
Right? They're not Olympics eligible.
So, like, Walter White has his little RV up in the North Pole because he's making...
Is he selling meth?
He's making meth for Santa.
He's selling meth to Santa. I would watch that.
Yes, he's cooking meth for Santa.
Like on Adult Swim or something.
Oh my God.
Oh God, Walter White.
Can you just imagine Jesse being like, fuck yeah, Santa!
That would be pretty funny. Let's be real.
Goddamn right.
That would be funny. Okay, let me move this out of the way. Sorry, guys, we got a script that we're supposed to do. Well, I think we've hit it. So we got to get the final thoughts and a grade. Do you think?
Yeah, we got to do this.
All right. Well, the good news is we have many thoughts. So, Alex, final thought and a grade. What would you grade this?
This one is going to get a D for disappointing. Because, I had a moment where I felt hope because it looked a little zany potentially, and I like stop motion animation, and instead it was deeply boring, and somehow they had a movie with Mickey Rooney and Ethel Merman in it that was fucking boring. And it had songs, and they were all terrible. It was just like a miss on every level. So, that's all I got. It's just a fucking disappointment. It didn't make me mad, but it I have watched so many of these movies, and this is honestly the first one where I just, like, abandoned it and went and play video games while I listened to it, so I was still technically interacting with it in some way, because I could not handle sitting on the couch and putting it in my eyeballs anymore.
That's fair. All right. Paul, what about you?
I had hopes for this movie. I was like, oh, we're going to get all this interesting backstory and world building, and, yeah, like his plots are pants. The animation, the movie feels cheap, slapdash, and undercooked and underdone, and just like thrown on the screen for money and padded out with songs that have no connection to the plot. It misses everything it tries to do and criminally wastes, as Alex said, Ethel Merman and Mickey Rooney's talents and Red Buttons and everybody else in this film. They're wasted. It's like. What? I mean, you need to look at your life choices, because you spent all this time and effort on this piece of worthless crap that I watched twice because I want to make sure I understood the thing, and now I regret losing those 2 hours of my life twice. So I'm a little cross about that. I'm not going to fail it because I have watched worse movies on this, like, say, Ernest Saves Christmas, which is objectively the worst movie I've ever seen for Skippy and Fanty. This is not quite that bad. I'm going to be gentle to it, mind you, and give it a D-. That's being gentle. I'm being gentle. I didn't go into the F land. I'm being gentle. Being in a nice mood.
I feel like that's fair. Because, I actually, like, Ernest Saves Christmas was awful, but, like, my new standard for awful torture cinema movies is now the fucking Robin Hood movie, because it made me so angry.
Oh,
that movie.
Yes.
Yeah, that movie made me angry, too.
It was enraging.
Well, okay.
Oh, God, yes.
Comes to me.
Comes to you.
So there's lots of things to hate about this movie, but the thing that made me most angry is that it led me to the discovery that there is in fact a tradition of Christmas in July, which is practiced in many cultures around the globe, which means I have become increasingly annoyed about the Christmas hegemony over the world, because, as I said at the very beginning of this podcast, Christmas begins on December 1st and ends December 31st, the season of Christmas. And any encroachment into other months or times or anything is frankly one of the most offensive things I could ever experience, next to homophobia, racism, sexism, and literally any of the other isms which come first.
I just want to note that, I was in Japan for most of November. Since there is no American Thanksgiving, Christmas starts on November 1st. So while I was in Japan, it was all Christmas trees, and they were playing Christmas carols everywhere. It was very weird. And then when we went to Universal Studios Japan in Osaka, there was the Hello Kitty Happy Marching Band Christmas show going on, and I felt like I was on drugs.
I am so mad that you shared that with me.
You're welcome.
How? Wow. Japan,
Wow.
What are you doing?
And it's even, and the thing that makes it even weirder is, like, in America, it's this thing about, like, buying a million toys for your kids and, like, all that. That is not really how the holiday is even celebrated in Japan, because it's more of, like, a romance thing where you're supposed to, like, get together with your date and eat a fancy Christmas cake and, exchange affectionate presents. So it's odd.
Well, I'm going to do that for Christmas, given that my wedding will be a Christmas season wedding for all time. So my anniversary.
So what you're saying is your Christmas will be your wedding will be inextricably linked with
Christmas.
With Christmas.
Forever and ever.
It'll be inextricably linked to a holiday that I associate entirely with spending time with family.
I mean, that's good.
Yeah. For me, it's actually a very sweet notion, because buying presents and stuff is like, that's fun and all, but like, that's not really what Christmas is. It's like, once you hit like 39, if you're still thinking about presents, like, you have not had enough socks given to you.
No, we're all just, at this point, we're thinking about delicious food and
good experience, spending time with people you care about. Like, that stuff really does matter. I know it sounds sappy as shit, and like that's like in every Christmas movie, but like, family really matters and all of that stuff. But like, no, it really does. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to spend time with Paul's gonna be there for. Well, he won't be there for Christmas, but like, he'll basically be there.
No, I'm leaving on Christmas.
But
God.
people that matter to me will be there.
Yes, I'm flying home on Christmas.
I mean, then
Alex.
again, flying on Christmas is very cheap. Like, there
Yeah.
was one year I flew to
That's
the UK
why I was able to
on
afford
Christmas
this.
Day. And also the
Yeah,
security
so-
lines are basically empty.
I'm counting on this being a smoother trip as a result.
Yeah. I do want to know that
Well, so what happens?
Brandon would like you to know, Alex, about the Christmas KFC. Don't know what that means?
Oh yeah, no,
isn't
that
KFC
is
a thing in
also a
Japan?
thing in
Yes.
Japan. Yeah, you get KFC.
The KFC is Christmas
No,
themed?
it's Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you eat it on Christmas.
You eat Kentucky Fried Chicken on Christmas in Japan.
I
I mean, okay.
I
sure.
guess it's kind of the equivalent. It's kind of the equivalent of eating Chinese food on Christmas,
Yeah. I mean, I guess
which I've done.
I mean, that's not that bad. Like, fried chicken's nice. It's fun.
I mean, I'm an
Sure.
old person and I can't handle fried chicken anymore, but
I mean,
for those of you out there who are fried chicken enjoyers, enjoy.
I very rarely now have banchan.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Fall, for bringing that up, because that's the thing I can't get. Anyway, my grade. I do not
Yes,
say
you're
what
great.
my
You're
grade
great.
is.
You're actually
Yes,
great
you're
before we
great.
went on that tangent. Sorry,
Yeah.
everybody.
I'm going to give it a D as well. Like, yeah, it's just
So it's just
bad,
under a D as a
Yeah.
result.
Yeah, we basically end up at about a D. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I love that Paul, for all you loved the bullshit Silmarillion-ness of it, you were like, no, fuck this movie. D-.
Yes.
He didn't say fuck this movie, because he only gave it a D-.
True.
We would give it an F or an F- if we were like, fuck this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been Paul in total rage mode.
I mean, I
I was more disappointed.
I feel like that would have been had Paul been there to watch Robin Hood with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the rage would not the Skippy and Fan show would not have handled me adding my rage to Alex's.
I think Paul wouldn't have been able to record. I think he would have been like, I am so livid. I cannot be physically present.
We would just be like, Paul, your sound isn't coming through it. It's just because he's screaming so loud the whole time, like he's just maxing out his mic and it's cutting off.
There are only a handful of times when Paul has been on a torture cinema and has lost his shit.
You live for those times.
Those are some of my favorite moments, but it's only happened like twice when he's just snapped. Like Paul's niceness has just cracked, and he has become
the last
a
one I
monster.
remember was Mazes and Monsters.
Yeah, he went on a 20-minute rant for Mazes and
Where it's
Monsters.
like he takes his carefully built Midwest artifice and like sets it aside, and you're like, oh yes, you are from New York.
Yes. His New York comes out.
It's just...
I mean, yeah, there are certain things that get Paul, there are certain things that get Alex, and there are certain things that get me. And
Snakes.
we didn't get to any of those for this film.
Yeah, you know, if there'd been a sea snake in this movie, it would have been a completely different matter.
If there had been, well, there were snakes in this because Winterbolt, his sleigh is driven by snakes. Which, how the fuck does that work?
Look, they're North Pole snakes. Don't overthink.
They've taken the magic corn. They're on steroids.
Oh my god!
Did you see their heads compared to the rest of the... Do you see the heads compared to the rest of their bodies? Of course they're eating the corn.
Oh my god, they're so ridiculous.
I mean, Winterbolt says he stole the corn from Santa.
How? When did he do this?
He just went to Walter White's RV.
His Winnebago.
Yeah, he made a deal.
And stole some
He made a deal, yeah.
Oh my god. Well, okay. All right, folks. Well, we've done a podcast. So,
we sure have.
God help us all.
So if you're listening to this at home or you're watching it live at this exact moment, please remember you can let us know what you think about all the things at skiffyandfanny.com/listener suggestions. You can also find us on all kinds of social media. We are on a variety of things as Skiffy and Fanty, if you'd like to find us there. All of our current socials are linked at linktree/Skiffy and Fanty. That's linktr.ee/Skiffy and Fanty. That includes Instagram, Mastodon, Facebook, and many other places. So please follow us in all those places because Twitter might explode at any moment and Elon Musk might come for our souls. It's okay. Our souls are too expensive for him, so we're planning to bankrupt him with our souls. It's good times. Subscribe to the newsletter at skiffyandfanny.com/newsletter. That is run by Stephen Geiger Miller, who is an amazing human being who, for some reason, is still helping us with the newsletter. I don't know why. Presumably he likes doing it, I think. And always, if you'd like to support this show, please go to patreon.com/skiffyandfanty. Any amount of money is great. $3 gets you in for the live torture cinema discussions, and $1 gets you into literally the Discord and just as a support. But if you give me $7 million, I will literally quit my job and just make podcasting and start paying my contributors an amount of money. So if you've got $7 million to drop, go for it. We're relatively cheap. So there you go. Always leave 5-star reviews if you can on the iTunes. As for me, I am obviously at SeanDuke.net and presently live on Alphabet Streams. You can also find me at patreon.com/thejoyfactory, and you can find all my socials at linktree/SeanDuke.
All right, and you can find me at Katsudonbury on Twitter for however much longer that lasts, or alexax.com. And I do have a Patreon that because I've been very busy with writing work, I have not updated lately, but you can still give me money, and then someday the content will come back. And if you're curious about what I've been doing lately, check out the World of Warcraft Northrend book that just came out. I wrote that. And I just had an anthology come out from Fantasy Flight Games that I have a novella in about Twilight Imperium. So
nice.
There's more coming. Someday I'll get to tell you about it.
Yeah. I can't wait to when you reveal that you've been working for Disney and you're under an NDA and can't admit it.
Be nice, Sean. Be nice.
Are you just waiting
Alex
to see
is-
if like my head explodes from a sniper shot?
Yeah,
Like,
he's doing the scanners
Yeah.
thing.
And Paul, where can folks find you?
You can find me at Prince Justin on Twitter, on Mastodon, on Instagram. You can find me many blogs and podcasts. I write for Tor.com, Nerds of a Feather. I'm on other podcasts besides Skiffy and Fantasy. You throw a rock, the words Prince Justin, you'll hit me on the internet. One day I need to do it. I actually need to stream because I'm also Prince Justin on Twitch, but I generally wind up on this guy's stream a couple times a week.
Usually where he will be, although over the break, less so. Yeah.
Yes, I'll be busy doing other things over the break.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I need to make this awkward, so I will just note that one of the things that I didn't think this film was going to give me was one of my great dreams, which was being a thick boy riding on an entirely too small reindeer, which Frosty got to experience directly.
It's true.
And so I didn't know that was a dream I could have, but I now have it.
like
Now
you
he has
didn't
the
know it was a
dream.
need in your heart until you spoke it out loud just now.
Yeah,
I
and now
want you
I
to
need
live
it.
your dreams. I support you.
Yeah, I would like to live it. Yeah. So expect to see the new postcards coming out soon of Thick Boy Sean riding a very small reindeer.
Are you gonna have like 2 automatic weapons that you're shooting into the air?
And on that
Yahoo!
note, awkward ending and scene.
You're welcome, citizen.
If you want to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/skiffyandfanty or skiffyandfanty.com, our website, where you can get access to all of our fancy things. Our music comes from Holy Mole. You can support him and his work at patreon.com/holymole. Thank you for listening.